So picture this, it's 1994, deep in the forests of Heilongjiang Province, China. There's this place called Hongqi Forest Farm, middle of nowhere, right? And there's this guy, Meng Zhao-guo, just a regular 27-year-old farm worker, living his life, doing his thing. Near the farm, there's this mountain called Phoenix Mountain. Now, this guy, Meng, he only made it to 5th grade, grew up in a tiny rural village, never travelled, never saw much of the world beyond those trees, but he's about to become the centre of one of the wildest stories you've ever heard. And get this, he somehow predicts the Shoemaker-Levy 9 comet impacts on Jupiter. Yeah, just wait. Hey Jaders, welcome back to the Jade Archives. Tonight we're going deep on the Meng Zhao-guo incident. This isn't just some I saw lights in the sky thing. This is a journey that starts in a remote Chinese forest and somehow ends up on the surface of Jupiter. I'm not making this up. So the whole thing kicks off on June 6, 1994. Meng's out in the mountains with some co-workers and villagers, picking wild vegetables, just regular day stuff. And they spot something weird up on a distant slope. Something shiny, reflecting light. It's way too far to make out clearly, but it's there. A bunch of people saw it that day. Some figured it was leftover snow catching the sunlight. Makes sense, right? Gets pretty cold up there. Others thought maybe it was a big plastic sheet from a greenhouse blown up onto the rocks. You know, logical stuff. When Meng gets home, he mentions it to his brother. His brother's like, probably just a weather balloon. I've seen those before. Big white circles, nothing special. But Meng starts thinking, if it is a weather balloon, there's probably equipment attached to it. Expensive equipment, instruments, stuff he could sell. Easy money, right? So he makes a deal with his niece's husband. They agree to head back up the next morning and track it down. Next day, June 7th, they head back into the mountains with the usual crew, but while everyone else fans out to pick vegetables, these two peel off and make a beeline for the shiny thing. No trails, just jagged rocks. Takes them forever. They don't reach the spot until around 10:30 in the morning, and that's when they see it, really see it. According to them, this thing is shaped like a massive disc with 2 tails trailing off the back. We're talking big, about 50 metres long. Like the size of a passenger jet, standing maybe 3 or 4 metres high, roughly 1 story tall, and it's covering this huge section of the slope. They're looking at it from the side. There's a pillar underneath, propping the whole thing up against the rocks. The surface is smooth, shiny, no windows, no doors, nothing. Their first reaction? We're rich. They don't even care what it is. Even as scrap metal, that thing's got to be worth a fortune. But then they start walking toward it, and when they get within about 150 metres, things get weird. Both of them feel this sudden, sharp electric shock, like being zapped. They stumble backward. The feeling stops. They try moving forward again. Zap. It's like there's this invisible barrier around the thing. Meng's feeling brave or greedy or both, so he tries one more time. This time, the shock is intense. Almost knocks him off his feet. He says every piece of metal they had on them, buttons, watches, belt buckles, the big knives they use for harvesting, all of it starts vibrating with this painful, stinging electricity. It's clear there's a 150-metre no-go zone around this craft. After that hit, Meng realises this is actually dangerous, so they bail, they run. Once they're far enough away, they collapse under a tree, totally wiped, covered in cold sweat, feeling sick. They have to rest there for over an hour just to recover. While they're sitting there catching their breath, the niece's husband asks, "You think that's one of those flying saucers?" Now, you got to remember, this is 1994, rural China. People didn't really talk about UFOs. They'd heard rumours from America maybe, but they'd never actually seen one. Once they can walk again, they hurry down the mountain and report everything to the farm officials and the police. They even draw sketches of what they saw. The farm leaders are intrigued. They schedule a search party for the very next day. The leaders are supposed to head up the next day, but a massive rainstorm hits. They have to wait until June 9th. Meng leads the group. Several officials, all armed with cameras, tape recorders, binoculars. They're ready to document this thing. Around 9 AM they reach a clearing. They're still pretty far from the actual site, but they've got a clear line of sight to the slope where the UFO was supposed to be. One of the leaders grabs the binoculars, eager to be the first to see it. He looks and looks, but all he sees is rocks. Everyone else takes a turn. Same thing, nothing. Then Meng Zhao-guo grabs the binoculars and says, "Let me see." He takes one look and shouts, "I see it." And the second those words leave his mouth, he drops to the ground and starts convulsing. He's twitching violently, clawing at his eyes like they're burning. Barely conscious. Completely out of it. The leaders panic. A couple of the strongest guys grab him and carry him back down the mountain immediately. The rest of the group stays behind. They take another look through the binoculars. Still nothing. They push on to the exact spot Meng described. When they get there and the guest is gone, the slope is empty. They haul Meng down to the local clinic. The doctor there is completely stumped. He checks Meng's pulse. It's fine. But then things get weird. Meng starts having this insane, violent reaction to metal. The second a piece of metal even touches him, he starts twitching and screaming like he's being electrocuted. They can't give him a shot. They can't use a stethoscope. Nothing. He's lying there with his eyes wide open, clearly awake, but he can't say a word. The doctor hands him a pen and paper. Meng scribbles down this random string of letters. Not Chinese, not English, just gibberish. Now the doctor's thinking, is he faking? So he tries something. He takes a lit cigarette and brings it right up to Meng's eye, like right there. Meng doesn't blink, doesn't even flinch. The doctor actually singes his eyelashes off and Meng just stares straight ahead. You can't fake that, your brain won't let you. The doctor's convinced this is real. Eventually Meng gets sent home. He sleeps for days because he's so dizzy and out of it. About a week later, the Forestry Bureau hears about all this and sends an investigator to the farm. This guy interviews everyone. Tons of people say, yeah, we saw the UFO from far away on June 6th. But when he finds Meng tells him, I don't remember anything after June 9th. He didn't remember the search party, didn't remember fainting. He just thought he'd had a really bad flu and slept it off. Then, on July 19th, over a month later, the memories just snap back. He finds the investigator and says, I remember what happened with the binoculars. He says that through the lenses he saw a person in a raincoat, couldn't see a face, but the person saw him. The raincoat man raises a hand. A red light shoots out from his fingertip, whole bam, straight into Meng's eyes. His head starts buzzing, he hits the ground, twitching. He's out. He didn't remember anything else until he woke up at home the next day, feeling weak and covered in weird wounds that eventually scarred over. But wait, this is where it gets truly unbelievable. Meng tells the investigator about something that happened just 3 nights before their conversation, the night of July 16th. He's in bed with his wife and daughter around 10 p.m. This is a poor village, no streetlights, everyone's asleep by 9. Suddenly he hears this loud crack, and a blinding light fills the room. He looks up. There's a giant standing by his bed, 3 meters tall. The giant says one word in his head, go. And then, get this, they don't use the door. They walk straight through the wall. Meng said it felt like those air curtains you feel at the entrance of a big mall in the summer. Just a blast of cool air and then you're on the other side. Now he's outside in just his shorts. Freezing. The alien waves a hand and Meng sees it has 6 fingers. And then he's just floating. He says the stars felt like they were getting closer. And then, whoosh, they drop down right where the UFO was on Phoenix Mountain. He goes inside the ship. The alien makes this squeaky sound like a mouse. Squeak, squeak, waves a hand. A wall opens up. Another alien walks out holding a glass cube. Inside the cube there's a spinning planet with little rocks flying around it. The alien tells him, this is Jupiter and these little stones are comets. They're about to hit the planet. Now Jaders, I need you to pay really close attention to the timing here, because this is where it gets spooky. Meng says he was taken into that ship on the night of July 16th, and it just so happens that a massive, world-famous astronomical event was happening at that exact same time. The Shoemaker Levy 9 comet was crashing into Jupiter. This wasn't just any comet. Before it hit, it had broken apart into 21 different fragments. According to Greenwich Mean Time, the impact started on July 16th at 2015. Convert that to Beijing time, and it's exactly 3:15 a.m. on the morning of July 17th. Think about the timeline. Meng gets picked up at 10 p.m. on the 16th. The alien tells him the crash is about to happen. And then, just 5 hours later at 3:15 AM, it actually starts. But here's the thing, Meng didn't tell the investigators any of this until July 19th. So after the aliens finish showing him the holographic Jupiter, they start chattering to each other again, making those weird squeak noises. Suddenly Meng starts floating again. His head gets all fuzzy. His consciousness starts to fade. When he finally comes to, he's not in the ship anymore. He's standing in his own backyard. It's still the middle of the night. And just as he opens his eyes, he sees this massive fireball zip away across the sky. Basically, the aliens dropped him off in the yard and took off without even bothering to put him back in bed. Now, remember, he's only wearing his shorts. It's the middle of the night in rural northern China. It's freezing. He runs to the door to get back inside, but the door is locked from the inside. He had walked through the wall to get out, so obviously he didn't unlock the door on his way. He's stuck. He starts frantically banging on the window, shouting until his wife finally wakes up. She opens up, looking at him like he's lost his mind, and asks, "How on earth did you get outside?" Poor Meng. He has absolutely no way to explain it. He just hurries inside to get warm. The first thing he does is check the clock. It's 3:40 AM on July 17th. Right at that very moment, the comets are already smashing into Jupiter. He said it was right then, in the middle of all that chaos, shivering in his house, that everything finally clicked. All those suppressed memories from the mountain and the raincoat man came rushing back at once. It was a cataclysmic event. Honestly, if Meng Zhao-guo just made all of this up, I've got to say, this guy's a wasted genius. He shouldn't be out there picking wild vegetables. He should be writing sci-fi in Hollywood. But this specific detail, the Jupiter impact, is exactly why the investigators started believing him. He did a deep dive into Meng's background. Found out that Meng moved to the Hongqi forest farm when he was only 6 years old and basically never left. He only had a 5th grade education. The furthest he'd ever travelled was to a small town 100 kilometres away, and he'd only been there a handful of times in his whole life. He spent his entire life deep in those mountains, cutting wood, gathering wild vegetables to survive. There is zero chance a guy in his position in a remote village in 1994 would have any idea about specific comet fragments hitting Jupiter. Hi Jada, what do you think? Do you think Meng was telling the truth? Or is he a genius sci-fi writer hiding out in a rural village? Drop a comment and let me know if you think his story holds water. Until more stories untold in Jade Unfold. See you next time.